Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Stroll. Today is October the 20th and we made it through 2 cold nights. There was a possibility that each night would drop below freezing, but they didn't, and we still have color and beauty in the garden. You can tell it got cold enough. They got curled up a little bit, but they didn't just totally curl up and die. So we have a little more time to enjoy the garden. And you know the weather is perfect for enjoying the garden right now when it's not too cold and it's not too hot, and we can just come outside and enjoy. This is the type of weather I always wish we had more of. And this little job right here is what I am fixing to undertake. So I'm going to clip all these iris back here, and that may be all I get done today, but I'm going to get started so that each day I can get a little more done until hopefully it's all done before we get maybe another chance of a frost, or at least before we get a hard freeze. I hope to have everything done and everything covered, and I didn't cover very much, but I did cover the glass things, several things that I knew wouldn't have much of a chance. If it got to freezing, they'll just crack and break, but for some reason just a little bit of plastic covered over them will save these. They have been doing it in the past, and I'm hoping they'll do it again. One of the things I learned when I was working at the plant is always use the right tool for the job, and I have found that for clipping back the little thin iris blades when they're not all limp from being left out in the cold all winter long, just a pair of scissors, just a regular pair of scissors works best. So there's several more jobs like this one to go, but this one is done. One down and several to go. But this will be the only one I'm going to do today. I'm going to go in and watch the news and weather report and get inside before dark today. Today is October the 21st, and we do still have some color in the garden, still have insects in the garden. These are, of course, the, well, now they flew away, but the honeybees. I believe they were honeybees, some type of a bee. I'm pretty sure they're honeybees. Like, here's one. Well, now it's flying away too. Right there. It's much better to see the honeybees on here than to see those old green bugs, of which, now that I mention it, let's see if I can get this one for you. I tried to get it one other time and I think it blurred, but there's one. Right there. And now it's a dead one. I might be squeamish about some things, but when it comes to protecting my little plants, I get over that a little bit. I actually did go ahead and spray these just about a week ago, so they may need another spraying before the frost comes, but you can tell that there are changes in the foliage. It's becoming, I don't know if you would say darker, or just getting that look to it that tells you that it's going through some changes in life. Like this is a hibiscus, and it's ready to be trimmed down. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. I'm not planning on doing this today. You can tell this part of it is totally dead, and then this part of it is turned to some pretty yellow gold color. But my actual plan for today, I'm so glad we still have the pretty mums. I've got to trim back the peonies. I would love to do that so they'll have time to heal from their cut and then be ready to go in the spring. But it's so good to get to enjoy them. I'm still hoping we have some more nice weather so that we can. But this is my plan for the day, is right here. This is all of these iris all the way down need to be clipped out so that they will be ready to go again in the spring. We won't have to be clipping and digging around trying to find where the old limp sword is connected to the rhizome, but we can tell easily now. And I have a pretty day and I'm kind of caught up. I still want to make my daughter a movie, but I am taking a break from the movies, and when I get it, I'll actually have all the ones that I have determined in my heart to do, and I may do more at some time or other when it comes in my heart to do, but actually I have other things I need to take care of, so I'm planning on doing that. And then not only this row of iris, but just on the other side, the peonies, of course, they are all ready, dead, and need to be taken out, so they too will be ready. So this is my before, and I'm hoping a little bit later to have an after shot. And I was going to look on Google and see really when we should be trimming the grapes. I'm not sure when to trim these. I need to go back inside and look and see if I need to add this to my list of things to do today in this little area. But I mentioned shots just a little bit ago, and I did get my flu shot, and it did kind of make a little knot, or not little actually, a knot on my arm that I must have been allergic to something in it, but it didn't hurt. It still doesn't really hurt, but it does feel like a giant mosquito bite, and I keep trying to itch it, but it's tender enough that if I put pressure on it, I remind myself quickly not to do that. So I've been just putting some cortisone cream on it, and hopefully that'll be all healed up before long. And I'm gonna wait. I know they say you can get the COVID and the flu shot at the same time, but I usually end up getting sick at least for 24 hours, and so I just as soon wait and not try doing those at the same time. But it will definitely be on my agenda for when I get caught up again. I have some other things. We're already starting our holiday get-togethers. We're going to have one this coming Sunday. And while I have gathered in some seed, I definitely want to gather in some more. And of course they will just drop and put a few seeds here, so but I always like to have some if I can, because they may come up where you don't really want them, or they may not come up as much as you want there, so it's always nice to have a choice to do. Let's see if I can get these little birds, and of course they flew. But it's nice to have a few to just fix them up how you want them, and of course then they may or may not, because these I had planted in the smaller ones, as you know, but they just never came up for me, so I ended up with these tall ones, which are pretty but not nearly as pretty as I think they could have been if they were just clusters and groups of this little one in these little pots. I'll have to try that again next year. And speaking of gathering in seeds and the like, getting ready for the closeout of one season and the beginning of another season, when you want to do your harvest and take in your seeds for next year. But also remember that when you plant things like zinnias, to plant them in the spring, do wait until the ground is warm. They may not even come up at all if they're in the ground is too cool. They will just sit there and rot. So be sure you wait until it's nice and warm for them to be able to sprout, and then plant your seed, and there they'll sit pretty much through all the summer, and not until late summer do they begin to come up and really look like they're going to do something. And then usually not until the fall do they actually begin to just really shine in the garden. So don't lose hope just because you plant them and say, well, they're not really doing anything. Give them some time, give them a chance, and they will. And most usually they will. And also, that I wanted to say about bulbs, that's the same thing. If you want the pretty spring bulbs, you have to plan ahead enough to put them in the ground now. Like, they need to be put in fall, so that in the spring they'll be ready to shoot up out of the ground and put that beautiful bulb that welcomes spring for us all. So you can be sure to do that. I love the tulips. I have very few though, because I have problems with voles through the winter. They just eat everyone. Sometimes I've planted many actually, and then not even gotten to see one of them because the voles ate the whole group that I had planted, and I never got to see them. So I've pretty much put a hold on that until I can figure something out where I can. And I have tried several things, as I've told you before, but anyway, I'm still not ready to try that again. But I'm not giving totally up either. I love this color. Isn't that a pretty zinnia? But I'm not totally giving up, because when I find another way to try, I'll try it again. They're so beautiful in the spring. And like lots of plants, they may not last long, but for that little bit of time that they're showing off, it's just all so worth it. I never did get around to dividing some of the perennials too, and that's a wonderful thing to do in the fall, but I don't know if we had that much fall left or not. I stay so busy preparing for my last garden tour, and I love to have it looking as good as possible, but I'm glad that I've decided not to do that, because it gives me, hopefully it will give me a little more time to, like, this needs dividing. It doesn't have to be, but I just want more of it in different places, and I would like to divide this. And then just right over this is a beautiful yarrow. It has a pretty reddish orange, or orangish red orange color, but it's a little bit pastel but still bright, and it's so pretty. I definitely would like to have more of this in the garden, and it's definitely needs to be divided. As a matter of fact, when they get this full, if you don't divide them, they will just choke themselves out. That planting stage in the fall is just wonderful. It's wonderful in the spring too, but you're too busy then to just really just look and just visualize and see what you would like to do different, or what you would like to do the same. Look at this pretty little blue pot with this yellow and yellow green in it. I really like it. And then there's this verbascum, or miniature hollyhock. Isn't that pretty? I did sprinkle seeds of it around. I don't know if I'll get any to come up, but I will definitely try, because I think it's so pretty, even though I am afraid they might become invasive, because under this little rose, I'm pretty sure that's what's growing, and I think these are the bright yellow, not the, and that's pretty. They're pretty too. I like them too, but my favorite of the yellows is this one right here, which has the little pale yellow with a little dusty purple center. That one is my favorite of the verbascum, or miniature hollyhock. And they are not only coming up prolifically here, if that's what that is, and I'm pretty sure it is, but they are also behind this, and I'm going to go around so you can see. But yes, this is just monstrous. It could be a terribly invasive thing. But on the other hand, if it stays in this one little heap, this would fill this out and just have something there to keep the weeds from coming up. I would like that. But I've also noticed that, can you see these two little plants right here? These are my bee balm, Jacob Klein or Monarda, and I don't have very many of them. They used to be prolific here, just a big mass of them, but I don't know if these may have choked them out. I'm not sure what the deal is. I did notice that I have a little group right here that I probably will in the spring move back. I'm going to wait till the spring now so I won't interrupt their little roots getting down in the ground and getting hopefully growing and getting healthy for next year. But they're close to my path and I don't really want them here, but I definitely do want them. I would like to get them started back up in this area. And these little pink salvia, and there's a red one back there too. These are nice, but they too can just take over if you let them. And they may be some of the reason why my bee balm is missing from the garden. So you just have to keep an eye out for things like that. And if you can tell, there is actually a little Japanese maple tree right there, and I definitely hope to get to keep that. As a matter of fact, I may just go ahead and take away from around it some of these other plants so they don't steal all of its nutrients and all of its growing room. I just noticed that the grass is beginning to change color too. We have one in the front that my husband just remarked that it's not changing its color yet because they can get so pretty. Sometimes they not only get this pretty yellow and green, but they can put an orange and pink in there too, and they're just beautiful. It's nice to plan ahead as much as you can for your gardens so that things will be ready at their growing season. They'll be ready to go and ready to shine. But don't give up on things. And I've already mentioned about the Chinese dunce cap, that in the spring, let me get over here where I actually have some, maybe if this is, yes, here's some right here. But in the spring, and this is its little dunce cap, which is usually sitting up straight above it. That's why it's called a dunce cap. But in the spring, this will totally look dead, and it will look dead for a long, long time. I can see how people would give up on it. The only reason I didn't give up on it in the past, and this is another right here, that is because I didn't get around to it soon enough. I have more than I can actually take care of as soon as I would like to, and so I just had to leave it, and I was so glad I did. That time it worked out in my favor because they were alive. They were just dormant. So don't give up too soon on your plants. Look at these pretty little orange berries on the firethorn bush. I did notice, however, that some of my firethorn bush has actually died out, and I'll want to take that out in the spring and give the rest of it a chance to be beautiful. And these in the spring will turn into just pretty little white blossoms. And then it's just a little green bush for the rest of the time. But I enjoy it at every season. This is my favorite though, these bright orange. These bright orange berries. And look around, don't forget your seed. I hope I don't forget this beauty. This is a purple splash pepper, and I'll definitely want to keep these seed and try again next year. Oh dear, here's another of those green bugs, and they also fly, so I'm going to try to kill this one, but I may not make it because if they know you're after them, they're gone. I think I actually lost that little one, and I'm so sorry because he'll be back. I definitely need to spray one more time. They will eat these until you have nothing left but the little yellow, and I know that because from experience that's what they do, and they've ruined all of my mums one year, but I've tried to keep a check on them ever since then. These are begging me, especially this one right here, to come out and get them for seed because I love the cactus zinnias. And I'll definitely want to get those and bring them inside for next year. This little zinnia barely got started blooming when the weather just became cool, and it had just a few, but isn't it gorgeous this morning? And that blue and yellow just looks so good together. It's nice to be able to play with color in your gardens too, and find out always be sure to find out if your flowers bloom at the same time, because I've been guilty of getting two different flowers that I thought looked so good together, but one just did not bloom as soon as the other one. They were close, but not close enough to bloom together. But you can tell the color of the leaves are changing. They are just a little darker, and just some of them have little bits of like burgundy in them that they didn't used to have. And fall has its own beauty too, so we'll be trying to be out here catching as much of that beauty as we possibly can. And this of course is the Russian sage. And I love this little barberry bush. But I also had one in the front that was a yellow green, and it is, I'm pretty sure it's dead. If it's not, it's so close to it, I doubt if it will make it. So I may be starting to look for another of them because I just really liked it, and I'll miss it. So I needed to have moved it. If I would have moved it sooner, once I realized what was happening, I'm pretty sure our pampas grass stopped the sun from getting on it like it needed. So my neighbor Vicky has not yet got to come and see these pretty orange Mexican sunflowers, but I hope they will still be here when she gets a chance to. And I need to get this up. This is a crepe myrtle that has came off of this one right here, and I don't want two of them right here, so I will need to get this. If you'll have to be sure to watch if you have things you don't want in certain areas. I had this little tree over here to come up, and I haven't taken it down because I'm not sure. I may want it there, because here in Oklahoma, things that say they do well in the sun do much better under a dappled shade where they get sun, but not so much that it scorches them. So I'm not sure. I still haven't determined if I want this, but I'm pretty sure that this is just a little seedling that came off of this tree right here. And they do get, evidently, I thought this was a small tree, but there's not anything really small. It's about the height of this tree. So I'm not sure if I want to keep it or not, but I might. So I'm leaving it there till I make a decision. That's one thing. If you don't know for sure what you want to do, just wait and make a decision when you are sure. Unless, of course, you have to make it right now. Look at this beautiful, beautiful verbena. I think I showed you this yesterday, or really not very long ago, maybe the last post that we had, but either way, it's beautiful enough to look at again. Oh, I almost forgot to get this for you. It didn't bloom until just a few weeks ago, but this is the white black-eyed Susan vine bloom. Look at this beautiful red salvia today, and this is such a beautiful day. I just want to stay out and share it with you. It's so pretty, but I know I've got to get busy, but that's the story of my life, so I've got to enjoy a little bit too. I think I've been talking a little bit recently about how wonderful the vinca or trailing periwinkle, or even if it doesn't trail, it's still beautiful. As just look at this in October the 21st, and it's still shining like this in color. So pretty. I definitely want more of it. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but we did dig the dahlias and put those away. I think I did tell you that actually, but we've just been so busy doing so much I don't even remember what all. But we're getting it more squared away, and I can feel it. Oh, I can feel the pressure coming off of having to do so much. But I know I'm going to start putting it back on myself to cook for my sister's Thanksgiving reunion, and I actually got out my recipes and I'm getting prepared to get busy with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to get some things clipped back so that it won't all be to clip back in the spring. So I missed the other one, but I got that one. But I have seen 2 or 3 other ones flying while I'm out here. They're planning to get ready and just take over this little chrysanthemum, but I'm hoping to not let them do that. My white-eye got a late start, but this yellow got a pretty early start, and it is taking off and going, the yellow black-eyed Susan vine. Look, this little marigold is blooming finally. It's been sitting there all summer doing nothing, which is what I was telling you. Some of the plants do that. So, but don't forget to plant them, because if you plant it now, you'll not get these blooms. But if you planted it earlier in the spring, you'll get to enjoy your bloom in the fall. And if you plant bulbs in the fall, you'll get to enjoy your bloom in the spring. And these are more of the beautiful orange Mexican sunflowers. The last time I showed you this, we had petunias and zinnias blooming, and now I think the mums were maybe opened a tiny bit, but now they're fully open and just taking the place of the more summer flowers into the fall flowers. Look how this is filled out. I put just a few of these little blue spruce sedum in here, and they have just filled totally out now. That's great. I think there's probably a bare spot in the back of this bottom one, but other than that, it's just all filled out and looking great. I should have done that sooner. Well, maybe not. I couldn't find time sooner, and it was so hot they may not have gone like this, but now they are, and they will probably keep that little root and be ready to go again in the spring. I wanted to show you the colors of some of my mums, just in case the cold takes them away. But right now it's looking like we're going to have at least another week that does not go below freezing, so that will be great. do have several colors of mums, and of course I love them all. But if there was another one that I found and liked, I would get it too. I just think the mums are so pretty. Never mind that they're just a classic old-time flower. It just doesn't matter when you see that beauty. It's like brand new every fall. I know, not a mum, but look at this beautiful single rose today, putting on a little cluster like a bouquet just for me and you. And there are several mums that are not yet open, but I think I've already showed you colors that are the same as these when they do open. This is just a little more in the shade, but it does get enough sun that you can tell it's doing well here. A part of me wishes we could just keep right on gardening and not lose any of this. But then another part of me wonders what people do that keep right on gardening and never get a rest, because oh my goodness, I am so ready for a rest that if I actually had my choice, I'm not sure that I would give myself a rest. So I'm kind of glad that God has things set up. And I'm grateful that I live in Oklahoma where we have seasons and a season of rest, but I still hate to lose all this. This morning, one of my Instagram friends was saying how she's totally enjoying fall, and I said I'm right there with you, because wouldn't it be wonderful if our summers were just like the early days of fall? Oh, how we would get to enjoy our garden so much more. Of course, I might not get any work done then, but I think I would. I honestly think I would, because it's just even easier to work when the weather is nice enough. You can do it without wiping the sweat out of your eyes every 10 minutes or sooner. Look at this little beauty. This is a blanket flower, but you have to watch out for these too. This is one plant, and I've cut it back twice to keep it from growing out all over the place. You can see where this is part of it that I cut back, but if you don't cut it back, I let one grow up close to my bright red Lord Baltimore hardy hibiscus, and I looked around for it because you know they're a little late coming back, so I thought it was late coming back, but yes, it was very late coming back, and it never came back, and I need another one. And I know, do not ever put it close to these, because these will literally take out a huge beautiful Lord Baltimore hibiscus. Of course, if you're going to clip your iris back with regular scissors, you're going to need more than one pair of scissors. Of course, you knew that when I told you that in the first place, didn't you? And I knew it too. But, of course, I didn't follow through. But I wish I had today when I do some more. And I did not get a whole lot done yesterday. I had to stop and water, and then I had to spray for those little green cucumber beetles that are total bloom killers. But I'm going again today. Okay, so I got that little job done, except for picking up my debris, which I'm fixing to do. There is one job that will not have to be done in the spring. I will, however, have to pull up my daylilies, and I thought about clipping them up, but then I was just thinking how easy it is once they're totally dead, and all you have to do is reach down and give them a little twist with your twist of your wrist and pull up the old dead stuff that's loose from the roots, so that the new stuff can come out. So I left those. Also, I found a couple of trees. Let me see if I can find them for you now. I know they're, oh yeah, here it is. I see it. This is the little elm tree that some bird planted for me. And we're supposed to have a rain in a couple of days maybe. So I'm going to wait, and then we'll find our pliers and pull those up if possible. And the other one is over here, and it's huge. I don't know quite how I missed it all this time, but I did. But there it is. So I want that out of there. But I think I will wait until the ground is soft and then try to pull those up with the pliers. And what did I find out on Google about if I could go ahead and trim back my grapes? Well, one thing what I found was that any green stem like this one right here can be trimmed back at any time, because the grapes grow, and this one, the grapes grow on the brown wood. It turns brown after a year, and grapes can grow on it at that time. And it also said when you do get ready to trim them in the, like in February, sometime between late winter and early spring is when they do need to be trimmed if you're going to trim them. And I was wondering if they might be keeping the sun away from my now I can think of as poppies but peonies, from my peonies. But what I learned, or what I read, was not only could that have been happening, but they could be actually keeping the sun away from the brown stems. The green stems can actually keep the sun away from the brown stems, and they need that to put on their fruit. So it's a good thing actually to trim that down. So I'll probably be trimming these again in sometime around February or March. So that's the plan. We'll see how that goes. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.